Legend of Total War here, and today we're doing another Total War Warhammer 3 Immortal Empires campaign review, this time covering Skulltaker and also just briefly touching upon the Khorne rework. Starting with the Khorne rework, I really like it. They made the most powerful faction in the game even more powerful, so that's fine. It actually contributes to power creep, but I don't mind power creep, but I know that a lot of other people do. So I do question whether or not some of the design decisions were the best for the overall game, but I definitely enjoy them. So Khorne is now completely overtuned, whereas previously they were just really overtuned. So one of the big factors with their rework is they no longer have supply lines, so recruiting new lords is not going to increase the upkeep cost of your existing lords. This has a bit of a snowballing effect, especially in the late stage campaign, around turn 30 for Khorne, because they've got quite a lot of global bonuses that they could obtain to reduce global upkeep costs, outside of their bloodletting. So for example, you got 40% there. But if you go and obtain a gold resource, then you can get a global bonus to reducing upkeep costs, as well as technology and stuff like that. Eventually, your armies will be ridiculously cheap, and that's outside of additional lord bonuses that, like legendary lords that reduce upkeep costs for certain units. So yeah, there's a lot you can do to make your armies extremely cheap. Now, while Khorne doesn't make a ton of money through their taxes, they do make an absolute ton of cash through loot money, which is also amplified throughout the course of the campaign. So their finances and the amount of skulls you get, it's just completely overtuned if you're a reasonably competent player. They've also changed the skulls thrown stuff. So previously there was just a button in the middle here. You just press it once every 10 turns. It gave you 5 turns worth of some bonuses to like post-battle loot, and also gave you the Summon from Beyond. Now, Summon from Beyond is just one of the many options here. As you continue to dedicate skulls to the throne, you will eventually unlock new ones, which is good because that way all the biggest, most powerful bonuses are at the end of this, which you'll obtain in the late game, around turn 30. So with this one here specifically, now it still holds out for 5 turns, but because the global cooldowns can actually be reduced, you can actually end up having Summon from Beyond more active more often than you were previously able to, and that's probably one of the most powerful ones, being able to summon at the start of the campaign 2 bloodletters, and then eventually I think it goes up to 4 now, because it used to be up to 5, but this is kind of better for Khorne, having access to it more often. And then there's various other ones here. All of these are pretty much good in their own right. So this is just all really impactful stuff. Something that you want to be focusing on pretty much throughout your entire campaign. It's just all good stuff. You've got greater access to gaining skulls. And no longer will you get skulls from like tradable resources, which is good because that didn't really incentivize very much to get the tradable resources. Instead now you get various global bonuses from these tradable resources, some providing better bonuses than others. So for example, wood is not a huge benefit, but things like medicinal herbs and gold and various other things are really valuable to Khorne. Iron, for example, that's really good for Khorne because that'll increase your armor faction wide. They've still got the same in regard to the unholy manifestations. There's 4 different ones you can do, and these are all good. So slight changes have been made to them, but it'll still feel quite familiar. Basically, all the changes that they made to Khorne just feel really good, in that they don't snowball quite as quickly as they used to, but they snowball harder when they do start snowballing. So it's really powerful. Their new tech tree is also awesome. You've got 2 different lines to go through that are actually impactful into which way you want to go, and it's not like a linear tech tree where you just got to go through the first tier and then get to the next tier. So you've got different things that you can go to based on your priorities. So if you want to focus on obtaining growth, then getting this really early is very easy to do. So all of this stuff is just great all around. This is a great rework. And the thing is, Khorne didn't need a rework. Now, if I was to rate this in terms of the rework, I'd probably give it like a 8 out of 10. But at the same time, I don't know, it does contribute a lot to power creep, but like I said, from a subjective point of view, I don't care about power creep. I just want to have fun. And the Khorne rework is just super fun for me. But I know that it's not for everyone, which is why I'm deducting a couple of points, because I'm taking into consideration that not everyone is going to appreciate a faction that becomes unstoppable by turn 20 or turn 10 or something like that, which is basically the case with Khorne. You know, with their blood hosts, now they cost skulls to produce, and it increases in cost as you produce more blood hosts, which I think is a good thing. But the blood hosts are overall more valuable since they have absolutely no upkeep costs now, whereas previously they had upkeep costs. That being said, money's not really an issue for Khorne, and neither is skulls. So some tweaking, I think, in maybe some nerfs probably wouldn't be the worst thing for for Khorne. But anyway, overall, I really enjoy playing Khorne. So, now let's talk about Skulltaker himself, and this is, again, one of the most overtuned campaigns that has ever been introduced into Total War. He's already received quite a few nerfs, and he's still super overtuned, largely due to the Cloak of Skulls. The amount of, like, just good, super impactful bonuses that are in there heavily incentivizes you to just obtain as much Champion's Essence as possible so that you can, like, really pump it into that. So, it's a mechanic that really engages the player to really focus on it, and that's what you want to see. And it doesn't take away from the Khorne experience, since it's just going around basically killing lords. You want Skulltaker to be going around finding new legendary lords to go and bash, or maybe even farming existing ones that you've already beaten, just so you can get as much Champion's Essence as possible. It does massively boost his strength, but it's more about the faction-wide buffs, like increasing the chances of a demonic unit being recovered, which is quite good because demons do have a habit of being destroyed in battle, since they can be quite squishy, and also the ability to just generate blood hosts when fighting only with Skulltaker now, not with just any army. So you can make a whole bunch of blood hosts without requiring to spend skulls. Not that skulls is a huge issue for you either, but all of this stuff here is just really good with the Skulltaker. In terms of his start position, it's not my favorite start position for him, and that's largely due to it's not enough killing in a short enough space of time, basically. You start off in an area where it takes too long to get to the next killing zone. I just want to keep killing, and like killing these guys here, that's fine, but then it takes multiple turns to get to Quitax, and then you're sort of set up in a little bit of a trap, like a player trap, a trick start position, I guess. And I guess that makes sense going up against Tzeentch. Because it's your starting enemy, you're sort of incentivized to come down here and take out Chakra as well to finish them off. But that's probably not the best idea to do. Best thing to do would actually be kind of occupy the settlement, or maybe make a blood host and then head over this way. Don't worry about Tzeentch, because they're not really that much of a threat anyway. But Alberic de Bordelot is going to capture the settlement here fairly early, and he builds a fairly large army very quickly. And if you can intercept him there before he builds up a massive army, that's going to be a lot easier for you, because you don't start off ridiculously strong, and Khorne's initial economy is sort of their weak point, because their units are incredibly expensive. So you're not going to be able to have a full stack straight away. So yeah, just be mindful that he's going to be your first real enemy, and this one here is just a sideshow, basically. In terms of Skulltaker's skills and abilities, everything is just great. His Slayer Sword is okay. It's not the greatest weapon ever. Skulls gain from kills, but you can also obtain other better swords for him as well. Like the Chain Sword, which requires you to get short campaign victory, you know, so you get that around turn 10 sort of thing. Because Khorne just snowballs out of control like crazy. You know, if you're playing Khorne correctly, that is. And his skill tree is also awesome. He gets really particularly strong, and he's got some really good bonuses here, and focuses on really boosting blood letters, which is good because those are some of your most accessible units early on in the campaign. So overall, this is a campaign here that I personally really enjoy, and is one of my favorite campaigns of the Omens of Destructions for Additional Lords. However, I also understand that because this is such a power creepy faction, this isn't going to be for everyone. And so I think it is somewhat divisive. It's just that, as I said for Gorbad Ironclaw, how it wasn't for me, but it is for other people, this one here is totally up my alley. But I also recognize that it's not for other people. So I definitely think we could have had this kind of enjoyment with maybe not triggering so hard so early, and have been a little bit, actually significantly better balanced. So in terms of rating this overall Lord, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10, because I'm trying to be as objective as possible. But for me personally, I love it. It's just that I know that a lot of people are going to look at it and be like, oh, this is too overpowered, it's not for me. And that's totally fine. Like I said, I take that into consideration, much like with sort of Gorbad Ironclaw, how that wasn't for me. but I understand that a lot of people who play on like lower difficulties, that campaign is probably for you. Whereas this is the campaign if you're used to playing on like legendary difficulty and you want to have like an early endgame crisis and you like to set yourself challenges. That's what this campaign here is for. So it just comes down to having different campaign experiences for different players, and I think that Skulltaker does a really good job of it in this particular case here. Not too much more we need to say about this. I think it's just a really good campaign. But anyway, that's the end of this one. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments below which legendary lord you'd like me to cover next. Appreciate you, and we'll see you next time. Later, guys.